I also have a background in nutrition. My undergrad degree is in nutrition, and I didn't go the dietitian route, but most of my friends did. And so we would always have a saying, you want to find the disordered eating people, just go to the nutrition department and you will find them all. Yep. And so tell us a little bit about your story with disordered eating and how you came to health and wellness on the other side of that.
Well, I grew up in a family that there was the scale. If there was one that existed, it was hidden away in a back closet. It was not something that was sitting out in our bathroom. And my mother was not talking about her weight. She was not talking about dieting. So I went to the doctor once a year for my physical, and he told me my weight was great. And that was the end of it. And there was really no discussions about it. I ate healthy. I ate 3 meals a day. I was very active in 3 sports through junior high and high school, and really never gave anything much a thought. And got a full ride college scholarship to play volleyball, and showed up at the summer check-in in July before our preseason started in August. And she looked at me and she said, "I love your physicality. You're in great shape. I'm very pleased." That was followed with stepping on the scale and having to weigh in. And the number on the scale, she believed, should be 6 pounds less than what it was. It was a number she picked out as air. It was not anything that was based on body fat percentage or anything else. It was just a number she picked. And I spent the next 2 years trying to lose 6 pounds at 19% body fat.
Wow.
While eating in dorm food and traveling on weekends for matches and the whole bit. And so I learned disordered eating practices to be able to reach that goal. And by my junior year, I reached that goal. So it took me 2 years, weighed in every day, had to put my weight actually. I mean, it was just all the things that we know are not the right way to go about it, but that's exactly what that culture was. And so it was totally based on a number on a scale. And I felt like a failure. I had reached many goals as an athlete, that I had reached high goals. I had gone to the state track meet 4 years in a row. I had many records. And here was a goal that I couldn't reach. And of course, the enemy comes in and bombards, that tells you you're a failure, you're not good enough, you don't measure up, you're going to lose your scholarship, which that had never been anything the coach had ever said to me, but that was the fear that I had, and the fear of not being able to finish college and being a drop, all of that stuff just mounted. And so I reached the goal, and then I realized I had to maintain that. And all of those practices, I was a laxative abuser. I couldn't make myself throw up, but I could use laxatives. And so it just spiraled out of control. And then I was at my worst, actually, after I had my first child, because nobody really tells you what your body is really going to be like after you have a child. And I couldn't control her schedules, and I felt like I was out of control again, but my food and my weight was the thing I could control. And so finally, just one day, I was at a Bible study and we were talking about image of God. And I realized I was really being very inauthentic, because I really wasn't living like I thought I believed, because I was all wrapped up in all of these diet culture things. And so I realized I had all the tools as a registered dietitian. I knew what to do, and I knew how to get out of those patterns, and ended up creating just kind of a mindfulness-based approach for myself to walk myself out of that. It wasn't anything I ever intended to do anything with. I continued on in my career. I went into health coaching with online, and I helped a lot of eating disorder people, and I helped a lot of people with healthy living and behavior management and all those things, but I never thought it was anything I was going to do anything with. And then I got involved with a ministry that dealt with disordered eating and helping people see themselves through God's eyes. And the Lord put it on my heart to take what I had done for myself and put it into a journaling program. And so I wrote a 40-day mindfulness-based journaling program based on what worked for me, to look at my emotions and my feelings and connect those with the behaviors that I was acting out.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah.
Thanks, Tanya. Just the idea of 40 days, journaling for 40 days is long enough to create change. It's long enough to shift some of our internal beliefs, which you and I know that it's not the external, it's not the disordered eating, it's the internal things that we believe, even sometimes at a subconscious level, and being mindful of. Really, I could see this, you did, if you guys got her 40-day journal, I could see the 40 days of mindfulness eating really kind of taking off and affecting all the areas of your life.
Yes, totally. Because you have to really think, it really came down to, for me, and what I found with lots of people that I worked with, whether they had disorder or they just were stuck in chronic dieting, because we're all stuck in this chronic dieting. I can't eat this. That's a bad food. There aren't good and bad foods. We're each an individual, but it's understanding, what am I doing with food and exercise too? Why am I doing it? And a lot of times that helps you start to realize, oh, well, I was upset about the thing that happened at work, and food is the thing I go to as my coping mechanism. And I just do it so much because that's what I've always done.
Right.
And a lot of times it starts to unravel the things of our childhood. One of the things I used to say was, my generation grew up as a clean plate club. We were the clean plate club because there were starving children all over the world. And so, in first grade, I couldn't leave the lunch table until the teacher told me that my plate was clean enough. And so you learn really early on that somebody else is controlling what you eat and when you eat and how you eat. But you forget about those experiences from first grade, second grade, whatever. And you move on with your life and you do your thing. And suddenly you start to realize, when you start journaling and you start really looking at, what am I doing at this meal? Why am I doing it? Or with the exercise, was I doing it because I needed to burn off calories? Was that why I did it? And you start to really see the patterns. Well, that's the way you can change them.
That's the way you can
and recognize the behaviors. And so part of why I did this was so that other practitioners could use it with their clients, not just for me with my own clients. I mean, I use it with my clients, but for other practitioners to use it with their clients, to be able to say, okay, what are you discovering this week?
What's coming up for you? Yeah.
Right. And then we can start to unpeel that, and we can start to look at that and work through that.
And I love that, and as you're talking, I'm thinking, this is probably bringing up stuff for people, because as you were talking, I was thinking, oh my gosh, when I was in kindergarten, I had to sit at the table until my liver was done. And I didn't. And so my mom came, 5 hours later, and I'm still sitting at the table with my liver as a 5-year-old. And so I'm sure that even as you're speaking, this is bringing up stuff for you. And so grabbing your mindfulness journal is a great place to start, to begin to unravel some of these things that we're not even really aware of on a day-to-day basis that control us,
Right.
Food is such a control thing. And I always say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So to begin to unravel your food will also begin to help you in other relationships and other places in your life. Kind of like you said at the beginning, might be your finances, might be your spiritual life, it might be your relationships. It's just something.
Your what and your how are pretty much universal. What am I doing with money? What am I doing with time? What am I doing with people? And why am I doing it?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then how can I go about doing that differently? Well, you can't change if you don't know what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Right.
And so I laid it out into 4 phases. And the first phase is nothing more than discovering, what am I doing and why am I doing it? And then how can I begin to do it better? And then how can I put guardrails in place? Mm-hmm. One of the age-old things as a dietitian that we said, over and over again is, well, if you're someone who, takes too big of a portion, then take out the portion, put the bag away, don't have it in sight, don't eat right out of a bag. That's a guardrail. That's a guardrail that you're putting in place. And so helping people develop their own guardrails. Mm-hmm. For instance, with credit cards, if you're somebody who really overuses your credit card, then maybe you have to use cash. Maybe you have to go to the bank and get the cash. So it's putting those guardrails and learning to recognize what is a guardrail? What would I do to put it in place? But it's easy to start with food in a lot of ways because we do it every day. And it's so out of balance because of a diet culture. It really is so out of balance. Everything is about thin, and that thin is better. And some of the most unhealthy people I know are thin people.
Yeah, the skinny fat, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so it's just trying to start to look at those things and really examine for myself, where is my life out of balance? And where can I begin to look at health and wholeness? And health and wholeness is not a number on a scale. I was my most miserable when I was tied to a stupid number on a scale. And when I went back to I only weigh myself when I go to the doctor, which is what I do now. I don't, people weighing themselves every single day. You're tied to a number, and that number becomes an identity issue. And when your identity, then you're questioning everything about your identity based on what the world tells you your identity should be, then everything gets mixed up and gets out of control.